Here we go, folks. We'd like to welcome everybody here tonight to these beautiful botanical gardens. My name is Sherman Conrad. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. On behalf of the City of Port St. Lucie and the Parks and Recreation Department, we'd like to welcome you here and thank you for being here. So if we would, let's give a round of applause to the gardens here. Beautiful facility. I'd like to say a special thanks. I know we have several people from the Friends and also the Foundation for all the improvements that they continue to do to this facility. It's exciting. Every time I come here, there's something different. We were walking and talking tonight of when we first opened up. Basically, you know, the city did most of the building and infrastructure, and the gardens are going to come later. And now you can start to see a difference, and that difference is beautiful. And I've told people before, the gardens remind me of our children. It's nice to see them mature and grow, and every time we come, there's something different. And that is very nice for the city, and just thinking the long term, what we're going to have here. It's my privilege and honor to bring up Councilwoman Michelle Berger, and we're going to open up with the pledge. Ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sherman. So we have plenty of seats up front if you'd like to sit down, especially since we have cameras that are showing this front area. It looks a little empty, so feel free. Let's take a moment just to say thank you to Sherman, who just introduced me, but also to the entire Parks and Recreation staff. They do a fantastic job of keeping our parks beautiful, usable, and just the envy of many other cities around. So let's give a round of applause for the Parks and Recreation Department. Let's also take an opportunity to recognize the dignitaries and elected officials. I see Commissioner Paula Lewis. Commissioner Todd Mowry. Mayor Greg Oravec. Vice Mayor Linda Bartz. Anyone else? Did I miss? Michelle? Oh, me. Yeah.
Chris Zadowski's aide representing him.
Oh, Commissioner Zadowski's aide is representing. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. And former Mayor Patricia Christensen. Thank you for joining us.
How about former Mayor Shirley Conti?
I didn't see you. Oh, Shirley, how are you? I'm sorry to see you. Councilwoman Shirley Conti, former Councilwoman Joleen Carabala. And this is why they don't have me do this normally, you see. All right. A couple of things that I think are worth mentioning. Our harpist, wasn't it beautiful while we were walking around? That's Barbara Brundage. Barbara, where did you go? Let's give her a round of applause. And also worth mentioning, as we were walking up, there were two young men that were playing those instruments out there, beautiful, yes, from Lincoln Park Academy, Tristan Cormany and Fred Joseph, young men. So they're with LPA, but they are for hire, so make sure if you want a little event that you let those guys have an opportunity. So again, thank you all for coming out here. Tonight is a special event for all of us. We want to make sure that we invite a couple people up to speak. And the first person I want to introduce is a very close friend of mine who also happens to be the mayor of the city of Port St. Lucie, Greg Oravec.
Well, the room is full of a lot of friends, and on behalf of the City Council and the people of Port St. Lucie, thank you for joining us tonight as we dedicate these pieces of art. And tonight I'd just like to talk about art and partnership and how we can work together to achieve more. So as you know, any city council as a whole is responsible for leading our community forward, but to be honest, within the context of pushing us forward, we take turns in the front. And certainly Councilwoman Berger has worked really hard over her multiple terms, and as we know, this is her last term serving the people of Port St. Lucie. And of course, she has led us in this partnership with the Friends of the Botanical Garden. And we're lucky not only to have Friends of the Botanical Garden, but the foundation. In addition to the Friends, we have a foundation who so generously gave so that we might purchase these and commission these pieces of art that will be unveiled this evening. So if we could, did I misstate that? Your eyes look big over there. Is that okay?
Are you thinking of me, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I was appreciating that we got the light bulbs replaced.
All right, good. So
I'm so sorry.
no,
I'm sorry.
let's give the Friends, both sets of Friends, a round of applause. And one definition of art is an expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, creating works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. And so that's one definition of art. But we also know that through that power and through that beauty, art has the ability to stir humankind's soul. And as a result of stirring that soul and propelling us on the search for truth, it often brings us together. So art it's much more than an expression. It's an act, and it's an act which can bring communities together to help identify and give special character to our community. And certainly we've seen that already in the Botanical Gardens. Is that not true? Is the Botanical Gardens something special about the city of Port St. Lucie? Not only because of the physical building, but the continuing act of love put into it by all the volunteers. And so by enriching it, by layering that experience, we're accomplishing much more. And by continuing to bring in our partners, not only the Friends and the council and the citizens, but our St. Lucie County representatives, we're going to create more. And the future is even brighter because I hope, as you know, the Botanical Gardens could very well be the anchor of a greater cultural and recreational center on the St. Lucie River, right? The North Fork.
That's right.
And the river runs through it, right? It's really the heart of our community. It could be the heart of who we are as a community and something that we rally around. So how right is it that we would put the Botanical Gardens and the art and the sense of community on the St. Lucie River? So we're working towards big things. You don't get there overnight. You get there through a lot of hard work, right? A lot of blood, sweat, and tears sometimes, especially if your plants have thorns. But we're well on our way. And where is Mr. McAfoos? Is he hiding? What is the proper pronunciation? I just have to check, or maybe I should check with Miss Conti. The proper pronunciation of our piece this evening. One of the pieces, not the green quill, that's pretty straightforward, but armillary? Yes, sir. So I learned on my way in that the armillary was utilized to study the heavens, and how appropriate, because sometimes on the council, we often yell to the high heavens. But really, it was used for navigation, and how appropriate that we would have this piece of art that has this context and this connotation of leading us on a journey of creating community and creating a unique sense of place here on our St. Lucie River. So that's it. That is Deep Thoughts with Mayor Oravec. Thank you so much for having us, and look forward to seeing this art unveiled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, next up, I want to introduce Bill Manning. So Bill Manning is the retired president of the Friends of the Botanical Gardens, of Port St. Lucie Botanical Gardens. And Bill and I have had a chance to work together on this project and many other things. So Bill, come on up, but really just understand that this is someone who organizes a lot of volunteers and has done a great job for us the last year. Thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Art, yes, is in the eye of the beholder. And I've seen art all over the world. When I was stationed in Europe for 5 years, my wife and I visited many botanical gardens. And there isn't a garden that survives without art. And tonight we have 2 pieces that are exquisite. The quill in the back, people look at it and say, well, how does that fit in a botanical garden? Well, it does because of the spear shape. And if you read on the easel there, it's botanical in nature. And then we go out in the auxiliary out here, and it has the equator, and it has various inscriptions describing various gardens. Another piece, particularly when it's lit up, is botanical in nature. When you install these pieces, they become conversational pieces. So as the members continue to come in, the new visitors, new volunteers, they will converse, they will talk about these pieces of art as to what that means to them on a botanical nature. But with that said, we need to continue the process of art enhancement. We presently have 4 pieces. There's actually 2 over by the hibiscus area, and the one in here and the one over there. I feel if we stay on that drive for having continued art, we will sell this gardens beyond belief. If you recall back in, well, it started in March and we had it again in August, the charrettes we had here at the gardens. And we were all here under the American Architecture Institute with their guidance. And the people of the community came together to put together a conceptual plan that would be a part of the South River and a part to play within the botanical gardens. I can envision putting the 2 together, and you will have the most enhanced icon, beacon, there is for this city of ours, of Port St. Lucie. Now, it takes time and it takes patience to do this. But if we all pull together in this community, it can be achieved. So I'm very proud of what we've done, and thank you to the Friends and to the foundation of what we have. And I look forward to a continued presence of art, botanical in nature, to be a part of this gardens. Thank you.
Before I introduce the next speaker, I really want to welcome some new attendees. Mr. Bud Adams. Sir, how are you? And his son Robbie's here as well. Saw him walking around. So happy that you all are here. And as you take a look around inside of the area, I know all of you were mingling before. The artwork that is on the wall is Mr. Bud Adams' artwork, and he has been gracious enough to allow us that if anything gets sold, any of these pieces are sold, that it goes back to the Art Foundation. So very generous of him, and again, just love seeing you again here. Thank you, sir. All right, next speaker is the new president of the Friends of the Port St. Lucie Botanical Garden. Joleen and I have not had a chance to work together on anything new, but I'm looking forward to it. What a great way to start our celebration with this wonderful art. So Joleen King.
On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Port St. Lucie Botanical Garden, this is a phenomenal event, and thank you so much. I guess I'm leading the hit parade of gratitude and happiness here this evening. It really is a very nice night and a choice, an event of celebration. Once upon a time, the city of Port St. Lucie took an unprecedented, I'm going to cry because I get like this. I get very emotional, especially about the gardens. A leap of faith and established a botanical garden. And the leap was turning it over to a bunch of Yahoo volunteers. Well, so far we haven't forced you to close the doors, and we appreciate that. And our doors, in a lot of ways, I think of them as revolving doors. Our cast of characters is constantly changing. Bill is recently retired as the president, and I'm stepping up as the president. We continue to rotate. Our volunteers rotate. No one's ever gone. Volunteer may step away from us for a year, but they're back eventually. No one ever really leaves our family as such. And I want to share actually something I just heard today from one of our board members who was here yesterday. Just the people that come to visit this garden. This is what I want to share with you. We had a couple come in, and they were from France. They were visiting and staying for this awful week of weather at Club Med. They had come in a few days ago to visit the gardens and were so disappointed the rain just absolutely devastated their visit to our gardens. Their transport to the airport was leaving within a couple hours, but they ran over to the garden because the weather had broken to actually view the gardens. And I'm sorry, on leaving, basically said, we made their vacation. This location. Heading back to France with happy memories of what we were doing here. That's why we're here. I want to thank you all very much on behalf of the current board for all the support that the city gives us in every aspect, and continue please placing faith in us. Try not very hard not to let you down, and enjoy this August evening in January. Okay, Richard, I can get off now? You know, he's been sweating. If I walk up without notes, he doesn't know what I'm going to say. Did I do okay? Okay. Thank you all.
All right. You know, while I was walking around, thank you, Joleen. While we were walking around out front, I was spending some time with Anita Prentice, who is one of our artists that participates in the area, and we were referring to the sphere outside, and she said that she really, when she looks at that, it makes her feel like we're part of something bigger. And I thought, you know what, that makes sense to me, because the sphere itself, when you get a chance to go out there and look at it, it has many inscriptions, and it has many references to other places in the world. And what a nice way to come in and be grounded in your own community, but then recognize that you share the love of art with the rest of the world. So, Anita, thank you very much. All right, so just a few comments about the organizations and how we work together. It's important to realize that these unique relationships exist, and they've allowed us to be here celebrating tonight. Friends of the Port St. Lucie Botanical Gardens organization manages and operates the botanical gardens under the lease of the city. The Port St. Lucie Botanical Gardens Foundation, which is a separate charity, has, as a part of its defined mission in partnership with the city, the responsibility of populating the botanical gardens with art and cultural enhancements. So while working with these groups independently, they really do seek to work together, and that's the key. So each one of them has their own mission, but none of this works unless we do work together. And what you're seeing tonight is it working together. The enhancements, they not only assimilate with and complement the existing natural beauty, but they strengthen and reinforce the public engagement and participation in the continued development of the garden. So we welcome many visitors, as Joleen was saying, local that might find us as a destination point, but look at these international visitors that are coming in from Club Med. This is how the process works, and it's working just as it was originally intended. So for that, I really want to take a moment just to give another round of applause for all the separate organizations that are running parallel and working together. So thank you all very much. That's important, but what's also important is the vision that the Port St. Lucie City Council has had. Past council members, current council members, we've had the opportunity to say, here's what it could look like when it was, our ideal. We put that in writing, and now what we're doing is we're implementing that vision. And it gives us an opportunity to improve quality of life, because the city should do more than just fill potholes and create roads. And this allows people to come here and say, you know what, this is a city that has a place of respite, and it has a place where I can bring my family and really enjoy living here, in addition to the other parks that are very, very active. So we should all appreciate what it has to offer us. So these two works tonight, they are beautiful, and we are celebrating them. They come from the acclaimed artist David Harbour, who comes to us from the United Kingdom, not a local guy. These works were commissioned by the Foundation and the Friends Grant, and they consist of a unique, one-of-a-kind armillary sphere, which is what you saw outside. It's by the Bamboo Garden and the Secret Garden, and the beautiful bronze leaf quill that you see there. Now, what I love about these pieces are that they're classic. So when we first started as a council speaking about creating art and culture and enhancements here at the garden, some people were worried. I remember somebody asking me, are we going to have like naked mermaids and things like that here? I mean, people were worried about, that kind of art, but then also the very abstract kind of art. And what I do like about these pieces, while they may be somewhat commercial in their style, they're very, very classic. So the quill itself is a botanical leaf motif, and then the light, the LED lighting, allows the floor, if you haven't noticed, to shine and reflect the leaves themselves. So it's beautiful. When you walked in, you saw some pictures on the board, and they were storyboards, basically, for the artist to interpret what his works were like, and basically how he was working and what he was working on as he was creating them. And then we also have some photos of the sphere outside, just in case you don't want to go outside because it's so cold out there. Just want to take a minute to also, all the way to the right here, I'm looking at Steve Garrett. So Steve Garrett, can you just raise your hand for a second, Steve? It's not going to like that. But Steve was an important part for the success of this, because he was our first contact with David, with the artist. And so I want to say thank you for that, but then the ongoing contact that needed to happen and the execution. I mean, it's hard. It's easy to come up with a vision. It's easy to say this is what I want. It's hard to make it happen, and you made it happen. So thank you very much. Great job. Somebody else that won't like me thanking them is Richard McAfoose. Don't let him get too close to me, because he's mad and he's walking away. But Mr. McAfoose, also one of those executors, right? Tactical executors that, given a mission, no matter how difficult, it is really going to make sure, he's going to make sure that it gets done, and it gets done well. And at the end of the day, this was ultimately executed with excellence. And I hope you all appreciate the details that it takes to take art from the United Kingdom, transport it to the United States, and then get it set up in a very short period of time, in about 3 months. So that was done as a result of Richard's efforts as well. So thank you to him. So these are two unique pieces that are added to our two other pieces within the garden. So here we are now with a botanical garden that has currently 4 new art pieces. There was a time when we first walked in here and all you would see were maybe some hibiscus trees as we were starting to put it together. And now the vision is starting to come together. So I hope you really enjoyed it as much as I do. Thank you all for being here this evening. And thank you for the Friends of the Botanical Gardens of Port St. Lucie, and for all the efforts, Joleen, that you'll continue to put in. Really appreciate the continued partnership, and can't wait to be here in the future to see the next piece of art that comes to life. So appreciate it. So thank you all very much.